Hello and welcome. For Realistic Scenarios, I'm Andrew Hubert, and today we are looking at the 3 types of leaders. The takeaway for this talk: there are different types of leaders and they have specific characteristics and goals. Not all leaders are right for every situation, but you get to pick what kind of leader you're going to be/have. The characteristics that we're going to be looking at are communication style, directness, and authority. Leadership is closely wrapped up in culture. And we're talking about organizational culture, although you'll see in a minute, different national cultures have their preferences. So we're going to be looking at the big boss, the bureaucrat in chief, and paternalistic consensus type leaders. Let's start with the big boss, and this is the typical American style. The communication style here is one way and it's top down. It's some guy giving orders. And the big boss is not great at receiving information. He's better at giving information in the form of instructions or orders. The advantage of the big boss style is it's very efficient. The disadvantage gets limited viewpoints. When it comes to directness, this is the characteristic of the big boss style. He is highly direct and can be quite aggressive or domineering at times. When it comes to authority is clear. We know who the big boss is. We know who the decision maker is. Innovation is quick, but subject to the decisions of top leadership. So if the big boss decides that there's going to be a new innovation, it happens. Whether or not it should is another question. The next type of leader is the bureaucratic chief, and this is typical of European organizations, and it's also typical of large multinationals now. The communication style here is there are formal channels of two-way communication. It means there are a lot of meetings and a lot of reports. Rules and procedures are put in place to maximize stakeholder participation. The advantage here is that everyone gets a voice. The disadvantage is that the style is very slow and inefficient, and there are more meetings than actions. In a small team, this might be the way to go because everyone is talking anyway, but just bear in mind that as your organization gets bigger, this becomes more challenging. Directness here is going to be in the form of who sets the agenda. So oftentimes the chief here, the big boss, is not going to give orders. He is going to set the agenda, and there tends to be a lot of backroom dealing to set the agenda, and that's how this management style asserts itself. Authority constrained by committees, rules, procedures, and bureaucracy. Innovation here comes in the form of projects. So project managers are going to be a major force, and they're going to be that's going to be how power manifests. The final style, last but not least, is the paternalistic consensus type manager, and this is common in Asia. The communication style here is open, but it's very contextual. It's high context, and nonverbal communication is the real dominant force. The advantage, the in-group is almost always on the same page. The disadvantage, out-groups are not represented at all in decision-making, and that can be good or it can be bad. Directness, it looks very indirect, but in fact, the big boss can be quite direct in a non-verbal way. So you've got to be an insider to know how decisions are being made. The authority is often hidden. The takeaway here is that good leaders shape team culture. Average leaders are shaped by team culture, and bad leaders conflict with culture. And as a leader of this team, or as one of the leaders of this team, it's your job to make sure that team culture and team leadership are aligned. Thanks very much. I'll talk to you again soon.